are needed. And if you're going to be doing any kind of burn barrel stuff, that's only from when the sun comes up till 10 a.m. during fire season there. So for permits, if you need them, here in the city, it's the Cannon Beach Police Department. And if you're going to be out in the county, that is the Oregon Department of Forestry, ODF. They will be issuing those permits there too. Clatsop County will be probably doing some permits, but most of the ones in this area, or the folks are going to want, are larger beach fire, bonfires, and a few things like that. So that's how that is. There may be additional requirements within the city of Cannon Beach for burning there. So please do go to the Cannon Beach website. One other thing. Now that it's that time there, you've seen up in Seaside, Warrenton, and many other places of Clatsop County, you can buy fireworks. You can't use them in Cannon Beach. All fireworks, any fireworks, safe and sane. If it's a pyrotechnic display, they've got a very specialized permit and stuff like that, so that would be considered under that as a permitted thing. But all fireworks anywhere in Cannon Beach all the time are prohibited. And I know there are things for sale. Yes, I'm preaching to the choir because you're the folks who they're good enough to come here, but that's the word we're getting out to right now, is that all fireworks are prohibited there. So one of the things we were talking about, can you go from the first square, the wildfire preparedness? Yeah, oops, no, the same map there, I'm sorry. I don't remember which one that's. Nope, I think it's that one right there. Yeah. Oregon Department of Forestry does create the state map there, and it shows you right now, this is where all the fires are in town. And the good thing, and I know I'm getting in the way of the screen, sorry about that. And the good thing right here, look at this. There's nothing up here. Our generalized area, our generalized threat in a few of that area there is we're in a pretty good idea. We're in a pretty good area. We've got this coastal influence. It's cooler. We got higher humidities, but we still can have fires here. We've had some pretty good ones here. So don't be lulled into complacency. Can we look at the map? I think it might have been that middle tab there. That one, or that one right there. So this is right now the Oregon statewide fire hazard map. And again, look at this there. We're in a pretty good, and it's kind of hard to see this right there. It's better on your computer. But our burn probability right now is a little bit lower. That is probability. So as the days change, as the temperature changes, as our humidity drops, one of the biggest things they look at in determining wildfire potential is when was the last rain, what is our current humidity, and they blend it all together to come up with a hazard index. Out in this area, our average humidity is 50 to 80%. Again, very, very good. You get into some of the areas there, Eastern Oregon, Bend, and out there in Baker City and stuff like that, it is not unusual for them to have 20% humidity or less, kind of like Arizona and parts of California. So they have a much greater danger. As you can see up there, much greater danger. So out here, while we're in a good spot, we got the coastal influence and a lot of things. What is our danger out here? Our greatest danger is that we have building, I would say not population density. Well, we do, but we have kind of like building density. Everybody likes it here. Yes, I love it here too. So as you see, the buildings are kind of close. Someone explained it to me and says, oh, it was like Tetris putting all these buildings together. Well, that was kind of a neat way. But so with us, we have structure density. So some of those things. And it's a reality. I'll explain it anyways. But not all of Cannon Beach was built to code. You know, and that's reality I'm dealing with. What reality is there? My driveway is 12%, which by the fire code is not allowed nowadays, but it was built many years ago. So those are the adapt and overcome we have to deal with. So as whereas our burn potential is low, if it does get going, the spread potential is high. And then we've got some of the drier areas right there, but was very, very pretty. The cedar shingles on the side and cedar shingles on your roof, and the vegetation really close that makes you feel all warm and cozy and woodsy. That's extremely dangerous. So we have to balance that out, and that's I'm going to kind of give you some ideas or some stuff like that. So, oops, can we go to the very that one right there? Oregon State Fire Marshal, they have a great website there. They have something we're going to talk about here in just a moment. There is is defensible. Can you push the defensible space button there? They are going to tell you a little bit about defensible space and what is defensible space. That is taking your house and moving fuels, vegetation, or other things that can burn away from your house. So they've got some great resources there. I've got some other resources that they have given it to you. The state will come out and do a free dispensable space evaluation, and I can too. But some brief things to think about. I can open this up there. Is looking at it's 5, 10, 30 around your house. The first 5 feet, low shrubs. Things that aren't going to burn real well. So that, in California, Arizona, or in other parts of our state, they talk about drought tolerant vegetation, ice plant, stuff like that. So try to get those are the things you're going to get up around away from your house. Maybe you have decorative rock instead of bark and things like this. Now, anything I'm telling you tonight is not a requirement. It is a suggestion. So we're just trying to give you a chance to have a fighting chance there. We have this check there, but this checklist there. But look at the vegetation around your house. See that you're getting those first 5 feet are a really good thing. Another thing you try to avoid in my house is something I keep trimming back. It's hard to do. It's called ladder fuels, where you have a smaller fuel that goes up to a tree, that goes up to a smaller tree, that goes up to a bigger tree. So now you've got 1, 2, 3. So now you've got this fire that's climbing up these things. And if those are close to your house, that's dangerous there itself. So try to watch out for the ladder fuels, try to increase that defensible space. What about vegetation on your driveway? Is your driveway, we'd love to see 12 to 14 feet. Love to see. Yeah, mine's 9. And that's it too. So, but try to can you can you trim up the sides there? If you can get 13 foot 6 inches vertical clearance, that's great. Because now we get a truck down your driveway there. So what we want to do is, if there's a fire in your neighborhood, the firefighters are going to be looking at which houses are defendable and which houses are not. They don't know who lives there. Well, for the most part, they don't know who lives in most communities, so I can't really say that too much. But it's all based on firefighter safety and how much can we defend it. They may pass on a house where they can save 5 others. So make yourself that house that they want to defend and they can defend. So try to get that clear around your house. Have not vegetation. I love pine trees. Pine trees are extremely flammable. But if we keep the fuel moisture and keep those things up, those are some of those things. Defensible space are one of the best things you can do about there. And then one of the things that you can do, and I'll have Andy come up here in a moment there. Look at some of these things. There's all kinds of, can you scroll down for a moment? There's all kinds of options that the state has given there. So, go down. See, there's an extra. It's a video, but it's a good picture there about how they've got things away from their house. There are the dead pine leaves. Keep the materials away there. I know some things we may have not done in Cannon Beach there, but it's things I'm trying to do around my house. It's something we're trying to encourage others. We haven't had a wildfire here in a few years, and let's keep it that way. And if one should start, that's another thing that we want to try. So, throughout this evening, when we're done this evening, you think you got those off, and we can look at that happens. So come on up there. I've got some stuff here about defensible space. Some more fireworks. I've got one sheet of this. It is so much information from FEMA. you won't sleep for 3 weeks. So come on up there. There's either a code you can take a picture of it, or there's a little QR code for all these things. I don't have any of these, but you want to take a picture of it, and you got other stuff like that. So they've got some great resources there. So then it's the whole thought is, well, how do I know if there's a wildfire threat, a problem, or an evacuation emergency in our area? The city of Cannon Beach and the state of Oregon have some great resources, and which if you could please come talk about those.
Yeah. So piggyback on kind of what do you have to hand these out right now?
You can if you like. That makes it just follow along there.
Yeah, let's just follow along. So hi, I'm the emergency manager. If you haven't met me, Andy Murray. So the state and us, we have a program called Ready, Set, Go. And so if you're not aware of what the city does, can we go to the City of Cannon Beach website? If you type in City of Cannon Beach emergency management. So basically, there's going to be multiple ways that the City of Cannon Beach can notify you through myself or through our CERT program, whether it's Mary Beth emailing things out or Mary Beth stepping up. Let's see. Okay, so if you go to the top left, the drop down menu. Okay, I'll see you on my page. That's the government. Notification sign. So if you go to the emergency management page, there's going to be ways that we will notify you. If it's in regard to Ready, Set, Go, or if there's like an actual wildfire event, the way that you can sign up is through Nixle, the second one down there, which is Cannon Beach Public Safety Sign Up. So that's one of the ways that we can provide you with the Ready, Set, Go. So if it's level 1, be ready to evacuate. And this handout kind of describes what be ready is, whether that's having your 72-hour go bag ready, getting your car packed, getting things ready to evacuate. And then level 2 is be set to evacuate, and then level 3 is go now. So Nixle, with this program, that sends you emails, it sends you text messages. You guys may be aware, like when the cow system was down, we were telling you to sign up through Nixle, through Clatsop Alerts. Clatsop Alerts is a county-wide thing. So that's going to be another way that you can get notifications on, like, hey, maybe in Cannon Beach here, the wildfire isn't a danger to us yet, but we're going to send out a level 1, be ready just in case. Because you don't want to just go from level 0 to evacuate right now. So that's going to be a way that you can get notified through the city. And then the other way is through the cow system. So with the new system, it not only has the possibility of just sounding alerts or warnings, but there's a PA system that I can go and I can access it from anywhere. And there's also a text to voice, to where I can actually go over, and whether you're in Arch Cape or in the city, I can literally speak over it and say, hey, we're in level 1, wildfire level 1, be ready to evacuate. And I can give you alerts via that as well. So just be aware of the Ready, Set, Go alerts when it comes to the city and what kind of alerting that you're going to get from us. I hope that's kind of. Does anybody have any questions on like the emergency notifications or anything like that?
You kept saying, I would do this. Are there other people on the staff in the city of Cannon Beach who would send out the emergency?
So the police department and dispatch, they do have access to Nixle as well. So they do have the capability of sending out alerts, whether it's wildfire crashes, things of that nature. And they're going to be the ones that may be the first to know, because they're the 911 dispatch center. So Seaside would notify them. And so whether they send out an alert or they notify me and then I send out an alert, there's multiple fail safes there to where you guys will be notified.
Thank you.
Okay.
And to add on what Andy's saying there, generally it's the fire department and the police department are not the ones that are the determinants of the evacuation. That comes from the Clatsop County Emergency Manager or Management and Clatsop County Sheriff. Why is that? That's a provision in Oregon state law. But we work with all the partners there, and we can say, we can call the class of sheriff, says, we'd like to do an evacuation. They'll say, hey, that's a good idea. But statutorily, but by state law, it is the sheriff's department generally is the determiner and the activator of evacuation notices.
Martian.
And then we'll.
Yeah, so that's another thing. So if all of you have, if you have, has anybody seen like the Lahaina Fire documentary or anything like that? So that was a big thing with them is, you know, with their system, it wasn't very robust, and it was only, there's basically one capability of a tsunami warning. They didn't have a way to actually go over it via voice, and so they didn't sound during when they had their fire. They didn't sound the alarm because they trained their people to, if you hear the alarm, evacuate to higher ground. Well, there's a lot of things they were like, well, we don't want to sound the alarm because we don't want to evacuate people up to where the fire is. So, yes, there will be a way for me to go over that via voice and say, hey, like if the fire is spreading from south up, I can advise people to evacuate north. And so when we were choosing that system as a city, we wanted that capability to be able to go over that real talk and tell people where to go if need to. So.
Where possible, the Canada Beach Fire Department, Police Department, and the city will be posting on social media.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't rely on social media as your primary source, though. That's, but even if it's significant enough, and gosh, I hope it never gets that way. Clatsop County and Clatsop County and the state of Oregon have a tool that's being used more and more called the Emergency Broadcast System and emergency alerts through your phone. You've seen both of those. Those are generally they're geographic areas, and if your phone is in one of those geographic areas, you'll get that. But that is again reserved for the higher levels of government to make that determination.
Just a little bit of information about Clatsop alerts. It can be focused to a community. So I encourage everyone to sign up for Nixle and Clatsop alerts because you will get better coverage in terms of notifications. And Andy has the capacity to send out a Clatsop alerts notice as well as a Nixle.
Yeah, so Clatsop alerts is through a system called Everbridge. And so that's different than Nixle. So like Mary Beth was saying, you could choose a geographical area, you could choose a radius, you could choose where you want to send it out. And it's a pretty robust system, very, very cool, very user-friendly. It's something that we're going to be looking at utilizing more as an emergency management team and volunteer team too. So
and for those of you who have a landline, it will call your landline and leave a message if that's what you have.
So
So we haven't had an evacuation drill in 20 years.
have one. Let's do one. All right, cool.
but it is, but there's some logistical concern with that too.
Of course.
So, but it's not a bad idea. That's something that we can meet with the police department.
Yeah, we kind of come together as
And it's preparedness is great. That's what we're all about. That is not a bad suggestion there. So, some of the churches have contacted me. They've contacted Andy, and they're going, well, what do we do with all of our people? So we worked with them to develop plans there too. So one of the things that was we're talking about notification there, we're all good to sign up on computer. We're very connected with things there. You guys, do you all know some seniors that maybe homebound that are not the best at using the phone, not the best at using the computer, not the best at like that too? The city and the fire department have a program called the Senior Outreach Service, which will go meet with them beforehand and try to help them to get on these notification systems to kind of look out for them. And that is staffed and operated by the CERT team. Several of our CERT members are here tonight. We thank them for their service, but that is a whole nother level of wildfire preparedness. You can prepare your home, you can prepare yourself, but also try to prepare your neighbors. And those are some of the things that we're looking to do there. So
Like if you or you know anybody in the community that when we're talking about like the defensible spaces, like if you're just like, I don't, you know, I want another set of eyeballs to look around my home and to walk through it with me to check out and to see if there's any fire hazards, fall hazards, things of that nature, you know. When's the last time somebody checked the, you know, the smoke detectors in here or in your residence? So that's something that program offers. And like John was saying, we've been working together with our CERT. We've done quite a few homes in the community, and it's fun. I like getting on a really tall ladder and playing with electrical things.
what the joy in that is that's helping people before there's an emergency. When it's a non-emergency time, getting them ready. So
I just want to mention that we do not play with electrical things, sorry. But we do install free fire smoke detectors from the Red Cross, which are given to us. So
Yep.
that's a free service that the Red Cross is helping us with. So if you guys know of an elderly person or somebody that actually needs smoke detectors, please make sure that you contact the fire department and John and let us know. We'll be happy to go and make sure that those smoke detectors are working and also provide free smoke detectors. And we'll make animals see that.
Wildfires are scary. Hopefully we won't have one in our area. What we're doing right now is trying to get over that thought of one, it won't happen here because it can. Because it can here. How can you help your house survive best? There's some how can you sign up for stuff like that too? But in the event if we actually have a go alert, rare in Cannon Beach, but it can happen. It's that whole be ready. That is not the time to be thinking, what do I want to get there? Just have an idea. Some folks have a go bag. Some folks are very, very meticulous, and that's in there. Some folks may be a little too much prepared, but we're trying to get the level of preparedness up there so that if we need to mobilize, we're all set there. One of the things that may happen though, and something I'm interested to learn is that in a wildfire, in this area too, we have our overhead power lines. Our partners from Pacific Power here are gonna excuse me, they're gonna come up and explain to them their views on wildfire preparedness, their views on the defensible actions and de-energization and how that all works. Please.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us here. My name is Jessica Newhall, and I'm the Regional Business Manager for Pacific Power here locally. My family's been in Cannon Beach since the 70s, and I've been here on the North Coast since about 2009. I was formerly at the college and just joined Pacific Power this past March. I'm joined here by our district manager, who oversees the really important work that we do in terms of keeping safe and reliable power happening in your community. So all of the line crews, all of the activity, on the ground activity that happens within this community is delicious. So do you want to say?
Hi, I'm Alicia. I've been with Pacific Power for 8 years. I just moved here from Yakima, Washington. I've been in this role since March, so be kind to me. We have a really good crew. A lot of the people that work for our district have been with the Pacific Power for a very long time and have families in this area, and so they know the risks and they know the area very well, and they're very keen to what's going on in our county and district. So I'm happy to work with them, and I'm very proud of my people.
And obviously we're here to talk wildfire preparedness and preparation and that idea of being ready for what may happen. We hope it doesn't happen, but certainly we look up in the hills and we see this beautiful vegetation. We look around us, we see this beautiful vegetation, and we also see extreme weather. And one of the things that we're dealing with within Pacific Power is what we need to do to better be prepared for those for those eventualities that may come. And so Amber Leahy has joined our team recently and is the emergency manager for the North Wires, which is the, kind of North District where we're at all the way across, and she can share a little bit more. But I just really wanted to thank you all again for being here tonight. It's, and to thank you both for hosting us. This is the first of this kind of event that we're having in the entire North Coast. And so Cannon Beach is really on the forefront of that activity. So just really want to express our gratitude for being here.
All right, yeah,
We're gonna step over here.
yeah. I'm Amber. I'll be talking at you a lot today, and I do talk pretty fast. I've been in this emergency management role for under a year as well, so we're a whole new team of really great women over here. But we're learning a lot. I personally am from Wisconsin, so new area, new to power. I was just a power customer like you guys about a year ago, so learned a lot. And I want to talk a little bit about all of the great things that we're doing as far as our emergency management team on Pacific Power and our wildfire mitigation team. Wildfire is a big topic for us. We're doing a lot of work for it. So first I want to talk a little bit about our territory. So this is just a nice map about our territory in Oregon. So I cover our North Wires district. The Pacific Power Emergency Management Team has 3 of them, are South, Central, and North Wires. So I cover everything that's up here along the border, Northern Oregon, and everything that we have in Washington as well. So here's some numbers for you guys. I don't need to read them all out to you, but we've got about over 600,000 customers in Oregon alone. And we tie in with a lot of other utilities. And we work with them closely to make sure that our efforts and our mitigation and our communication is kind of in line with theirs as well. So we can go to the next slide. This is Clatsop County, and I cover all of Clatsop County. And we have 26,000 customers here, 13,000 poles. We got 21 circuits. We do have about half overhead, half underground distribution lines, and about 8 substations in the county. The next slide is just about Cannon Beach. We've got 2,300 customers here, a little under 600 poles. There's 2 circuits. Again, equal overhead and underground distribution lines going to the businesses and homes. 1 transmission line that feeds the area, 5 substations for distribution, and 1 for transmission. I want to talk a little bit about our emergency management team, as well as our efforts that we're working on for wildfire season. This is a video that we can play here that talks about our wildfire mitigation team and all the work that we're doing to kind of mitigate against wildfire. Okay, so one of the on that video was Chester. He is one of our meteorologists. So what I'm going to talk about here is some of our emergency management team. Starting with emergency management, that's me. We do community outreach. We work with our public safety partners, primarily county level emergency management, and filter down into the cities to talk about coordination and planning and communication and how can we better serve the communities that we're based in. Our meteorology team, that was Chester, they work very hard to make sure that we have all of the information we need to operate our system safely, as well as maintaining reliability. So they're constantly monitoring all those weather stations that they talked about and making sure that the risk near our assets isn't going to cause a wildfire. And if it does, it helps us inform our decisions so that we can make informed decisions about whether we need to turn the power off, maybe we need to change the settings, and I'll get into that in a few slides here. They also help us do fire weather forecasting. If there is a fire, they help us kind of monitor it and figure out what is the weather doing and how could that possibly impact that fire. Will it move towards our assets? Will it move into those communities that we're trying to protect? We have 2 new teams that we just added on this year. We have rapidly grown our whole emergency management team. We have 2 new roles, 5 new team members, and then 2 completely new teams that we've added on. I have 2 slides to talk about them individually, but the first one is our Fire Emergency Response Group, and the second one is our Wildfire Intelligence Center. You might hear me say FERM, that's F-E-R-M, Fire Emergency Response Manager, because FERM is a lot easier to say. Same with our Wildfire Intelligence Center, WIC, W-I-C. All right, so just a heads up, if I throw an acronym out there, those are the 2 that I'm talking about. So the first one I want to talk is our FERMs, F-E-R-M, Fire Emergency Response Managers. We have 4 in the Pacific Power area, and they're spread out, and they're local in the communities, and they travel. Their main purpose is to integrate with incident command when there are large events, large fires that might be impacting our system. They work very closely with the fire chiefs to have that relationship, and they're kind of a liaison between our fire responders and our power people, right? They don't speak power all the time, and they don't always speak fire. So it helps us kind of speak the same language and make sure that we are communicating very clearly, and we're making people safe, and we're protecting the assets, and we're making sure that our system doesn't, receive a lot of damage that would impact its resiliency and its reliability. In the off season, they'll be doing training. They'll be working with local fire groups to train them on hazards around electricity, firefighting around electricity, and things like that. Next slide, please. This is our Wildfire Intelligence Center, another group that we're super excited to have. This is a watch desk. It's kind of like a dispatch center based around hazards as it relates to our infrastructure. So they sit at the computers and they monitor all the different ways and all the different information points to understand where are the fires, what are they doing, what is the wind doing in that area, how close is it to our infrastructure? Is it close to a pole? Is it close to a substation? Could that impact our lines and our customers? So they work very closely with meteorology to kind of get the data and make sure that they give it to our operators in a way that's easy for them to digest and understand. It helps us inform our decisions again. These individuals have already helped us with avoiding some unnecessary de-energizations, where in the past we were trying to maintain safety, and we may have de-energized for a fire that we thought was there, but it turns out maybe our coordinates were a little off, or we didn't have all of the information. These people speak fire, they have fire background. They understand what they're looking at when they get information about a fire, and they can vet it. They can make sure that it's actually a risk as opposed to maybe a risk, or maybe we have some information wrong. So they've helped us make some really great decisions already into going into fire season, and they've helped us avoid some unnecessary de-energizations. Okay, so I want to talk about the different kinds of power interruptions that you may experience. There's, in my experience, some confusion, and as a power customer in the past, primarily my whole life, I am confused as well. So this kind of is my explanation of why is the power off and what are we doing about it. Okay, so the first one I want to talk about is our planned maintenance. And this is a lot of that work that we talked about, the hazard and fire mitigation work that we're doing to upgrade our system to make them more resilient to fire risk. We have to turn the power off when we make these updates, right? And typically our customers will receive about a week's notice or so that says, hey, your power might be off between these hours on this day, please be prepared. But if you bought your home a long time ago when you had a landline and you no longer have that landline, your contact information might be out of date, right? So you're not going to get that phone call. So the first thing we want to make sure that we ask you guys to do is please update your contact information. You can call customer service if you'd like, they'll do it for you. You can log in. Our app is really user friendly and easy to use as well, if that's the way you want to do it. But just go in, make sure that it's up to date, make sure that we can get a hold of you, right? Because if the power is out, you might want to know why. You might want to have gotten some notice if we were able to give you some, right? We've made some updates to our outage map. In the past, you used to just see this little red dot that said there was an outage. And you say, I know there's an outage, I don't have power. I don't need to know that. So we heard that feedback and we've introduced new icons. So I've circled the one here for planned outage. If you were to log in and see that there was a planned outage in your area and you were like, no one told me. Sounds like your contact information might be out of date, right? So call customer service and try to figure out what's going on. You can sign up for calls, you can get texts, you can get emails, whatever you'd like. So this is our new outage map. It's really great. The app, Pacific Power app, is just one button. You can click and look at the outages and it'll show those icons as well. All right, the next outage I want to talk about is emergency de-energization, and we have a little video for you guys. Okay, so this is the second type of outage I like to talk about. This is when there is a wildfire in the area. This is when our WIC, the Wildfire Intelligence Center, steps in and they are monitoring that fire as soon as it gets out on those platforms that they're constantly monitoring. And they grab it and they watch it and they listen to radio traffic and they call dispatch centers and they use all the different tools that everybody has out there to understand where is the fire, how big is it, where is it going, and where is that in relation to our infrastructure and our assets. So our Wildfire Intelligence Center gets involved with the early detection, and then we call in our Fire Emergency Response Manager once we have determined that it's getting too close to lines or substations. And our Fire Emergency Response Manager works closely with the fire responders on scene to make sure that we have a good line of communication. If they need the power turned off so that they can safely respond to the fire, that's when we do an emergency de-energization. We also do an emergency de-energization if we determine that that fire is very, very close to our lines or our poles or our substations, because we don't want to cause any additional sparks and we don't want to damage the lines from that wildfire. So we de-energize. And you as a customer would get an email or a text or a call, depending on what you've signed up for and what you've updated, like we just talked about. Telling you that it will be deactivated very soon if we can, or that it has been deactivated and this is the reason why. Again, our outage map, this is a screenshot of our app here. And this is what it'll look like if it's a de-energization due to a wildfire. It'll be a an orange triangle with a flame in it. And wildfire emergency de-energization right there, that's a link that's going to take you to our website that gives you information and resources to help you during that time. All right. So again, emergency de-energization is the second one. This is because of an active wildfire. Our third one that we'll talk about is our enhanced safety settings. I have a video for you again. Okay, so the third type of outage you might experience could be due to enhanced safety settings, also called ESS. All right, another acronym for you. I think the next slide has a little bit more information on it. Thank you. Okay, so this is a graphic we saw in that first video that kind of talks about where we see the risk and how that dictates our actions, right? So when we move into this yellow area for the season, and that's what our meteorology team is working to determine. They're looking at fuels, they're looking at the humidity, they're looking at the weather, the heat, the dryness, to determine that if our lines were to spark, it could start a fire and it could be catastrophic. So this is when we determine that a circuit goes into these enhanced safety settings. And they're exactly what they are. They're more sensitive. They sound like they're more sensitive settings to enhance safety, to make sure that we're not causing any additional sparks or risks as far as wildfire is concerned in that area. When you experience that outage, well, first, if your home or your business moves into enhanced safety settings, you will get an email or a letter in the mail, depending on what you've signed up for, that tells you what's going on and when you should expect this and what might happen. You might see additional outages. That's what will likely happen. So if you make sure your contact information, please make sure that's up to date. If there is an outage and it's due to enhanced safety settings, you're going to see this icon on our outage map. That's going to be the little purple gear or settings icon, right? And when this happens, we need to patrol the lines. We need to make sure that there's no branches, that there's nothing touching the lines that could start a spark if we were to re-energize the lines. Recently, I had some partners ask me, I had an outage here at the community pool twice last week. What was it from? Looked it up, squirrels, both times. All right, so it's a lot of critters, a lot of wildlife, things like that, right? Okay, so one last type of outage you might experience, and this is our public safety power shutoff. I don't have a fun video for you. Sorry, I have to keep talking. So this is when we saw that graphic earlier, the very top corner was the orange or the red, right? This is when we've determined that fuels are extremely dry, and we're also expecting very severe wind, the 95th or 99th percentile type of wind. So this is where lines might hit together, debris would fly into the lines, it would cause a spark, and that wind would also cause a fire to move very quickly and very dangerously. All right, so this is the kind of elements that we're looking at when we start talking about a public safety power shutoff, or another acronym, PSPS. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a little timeline of what happens when we're looking at a PSPS. We start at the yellow here, and that's when our meteorology team that I sit next to every day, they're looking at the weather and they say, ooh, about a week from now, we're looking at like a lot of wind. And it's in an area that is already dried out. They experienced a drought or whatever. But basically the wind could be very, very dangerous for us moving in about a week from now. And they keep an eye on it. All right, so that's right around 72 to 48 hours. If we're still, weather changes, they monitor continuously. And if it's still looking extremely windy and very dry, we move into a watch, a public safety power shutoff watch. And that's mostly internally. And I'll reach out to our public safety partners, our counties, emergency management teams, and I'll say, hey, just a heads up, and we'll start coordinating there. And we continue to watch the weather because they could change at any time and we may not have to do a PSPS. But if we move to 48 to 24 hours and we start seeing that those winds are still there, that's when we kind of move into the warning and we start communicating with our RVMs and we start saying what kind of impact could we expect, what will be out, which circuits will be affected, who's going to be affected, and how do we help. And again, we continue to work with our public safety partners at that point. About 24 hours out or so, that's also when we tell the public. We say, hey, just so you know, your power might be out on this day for this amount of time because we're expecting extremely high winds, and therefore any kind of wildfire would be catastrophic. And then 1 to 4 hours out, we're going to send you more notifications. You're going to get so sick of hearing from us because we're going to say, hey, tomorrow you might see this. Hey, in 12 hours, you might see this. 4 hours, 1 hour, and then throughout the event as well, we're going to bombard you. So please make sure your contact information is up to date so we can bother you. And then we move into our public safety power shutoff execution. This is when the power will de-energize. You'll be told, hey, your power's off, in case you didn't know. Right. Yep. All right, next slide, please. And at any time, we can cancel the public safety power shutoff as well. We might say, just kidding, the winds have shifted. We're expecting rain now. Everything's going to be perfect. So Once we have determined that we moved into that watch, we start looking at setting up community resource centers. These are not shelters, but they are places for you to go and get access to refrigeration for baby food or medical supplies. You can charge medical devices. You can get Wi-Fi. You can get information. There'll be first aid available, customer service representatives, things like that that will kind of give you information or help you figure out what you need. We'll start working with the county as well as other services to determine where the best place is for that. It might be a library or a school or a church, or if we don't have that available in that community, we'll set up a tent. We have a contractor company that comes out, they'll set up generation, they'll set up porta potties or whatever we need to make sure that we're giving the community the resources that they might need during a PSPS event. And again, they're not shelters, they're just for daily, during the day use. I'll probably be there if we have one out here. You can say hi to me. When we are experiencing a public safety power shutoff, this is, it's not a very good graphic, so it's hard to see, but this is just an example of a banner that you'll see. If anyone goes to our website during one of these events, it's going to be on the top of every single page to make sure that you know where to go. You can click on that to get more information. Okay. All right, next slide.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Going to dialysis in those centers.
Great question. We should have the power generation for any kind of medical needs like that. So I believe so. We can double check though. Yeah.
A lot of time with dialysis facilities, as they're critical medical facilities, they do have generators.
Yes. Yes. Good. Okay.
So, but for like an
But
for
yeah, like an
the
at-home
kind,
it-
that's.
it
I believe
should-
that's-
It
yeah.
should be. Yeah, that should be doable. Then if it's an at-home dialysis, sure.
We also, I'll just add this real quick so I don't forget it. We also have a program, a medical certificate program that provides up to a $4,000 grant for in-home backup generation. So if you think if you have a medical, if you think you have a medical condition that requires power in the event of a shut off or any sort of outage in the winter or anything, please look at that. And you can ask me afterwards, but I know my partner needs refrigeration. So we have been able to take advantage of that program for his refrigeration. So it's a really great program, but I would say act on it sooner rather than later or share the information.
Yes, I did put out some pamphlets on that. I know we do have a slide, I believe, talking about it, just briefly. But so during a PSPS, we've de-energized, we have our customer resource center, and then we monitor. We have 24-hour shifts of meteorologists covering to monitor any kind of change in the weather that would allow us to re-energize as soon as possible. However, we do need to do several steps when we re-energize, right? We can't just turn it all back on at once. We have to make sure that we're doing it in a way that's safe for the system and it's possible for the system. We also need to patrol and inspect all of our lines, make sure that the wind didn't blow any debris in them, because if we re-energize again, we'll possibly cause a spark and therefore a fire. We move through those, and as soon as we've inspected, we start to re-energize section by section, ideally prioritizing those critical infrastructures like our dialysis places. If they didn't have backup generation, things like that, we try to restore them as soon as possible. And then you'll get a notification that says, hey, your power's back on. So next slide, please. So that was the 4 different types of power outages I like to make sure we understand. And then this is just kind of a reminder that it took 100 years to build this system, right? 150 now, what are we at? A lot, long time to build this system. And we built it to be reliable, right? We wanted it to be as reliable as possible. But because of the shift in the climate and the more extreme fire danger, we now have to kind of pivot and make sure that we're operating safely and reliably. However, that's not done overnight, right? So we're investing a lot in our mitigation. Our wildfire mitigation team is doing a lot of work to upgrade our system to make sure that it's both safe and reliable. But in the meantime, we always have to prioritize safety first. Okay, so that's why you're going to see these outages, but bear with us. We're working on trying to do both and a bit of a balancing act right now. So I won't go too far into our preparedness and resources because we did talk about quite a bit of it. Next slide is just what can you do? So again, I don't know if I mentioned this. Can you update your contact information? Make sure you're signed up properly. But also, like our county and city partners here said, like sign up for their notifications as well. Make sure you're signed up and getting all the information that you need. Our customer service team is great. If you call, you'll always get a person, right? That's not always the case with many businesses nowadays. So when you call, you'll get a human. Create a defensible space at home. We talked about that a little bit, and we do have some brochures in the back if you want to look at those. And then again, make a plan like we talked about earlier. Be ready, get set, and be ready to go. But this isn't just for evacuations. This is also for if you needed to stay at home with no power for an extended period of time, right? Make sure you have food. Make sure you have a can opener that doesn't use power. Make sure you have a way to cook the food or food that you can eat cold, right? These are kind of a lot of the different things that we offer. We talked a little bit about our backup power and our medical certificate program. So if you have a medical need that would be aggravated by any kind of power shutoff, all you need to do is go online, print a form, your doctor signs it, and then you get it back to us, and you are now part of our medical certificate program. It's not too hard, but that gets you additional notifications. If we did a public safety power shutoff, we will harass you until we get you on the phone, and we'll say, did you get our notifications? Are you okay? What do you need? And we'll try to get you those resources. So it's a really great program, but it also tells us who needs help, who would be at danger if the power were to be out for an extended period of time. We have a backup power program, like we just talked about. You can get up to $4,000 back towards a home generator or a backup battery for whatever you need. We have several pamphlets back there if you need to bring one home. Share them with your friends, share them with your neighbors, let people know. And you can always go to pacificpower.net/accessibility to get all this information as well. Our next slide is just additional information. If you want to take a picture of this, you can. This just takes you to our PSPS, more information on all the things I just talked about. If you want to read our whole wildfire mitigation plan, you can. It's very, very long. But just a little bit more information. And then I think we have one last slide, and that's just thank you for having us out. And who has questions for us?
I have another question.
Yes.
So, when you have to go and look at all the lines, physically look at them, I imagine that takes quite a bit of time. And I'm wondering where the people are placed that would be doing all that looking.
It's a really great question, and Alicia can talk a little bit more about it, but I think one of the things that's really important, especially with the safety, the ESS, the safety settings, is if you look at the geography of the North Coast and where we tend to get the dry, warm air, where we're going to see more of those. And this is not a promise. I mean, this can happen anywhere, but it's the ESS is really about where we're starting to see that the dry vegetation, the hot, warm winds, those conditions. More likely to see it coming out of the Napa Fern Hill area and down south. And so those are the communities where we anticipate seeing more ESS, not to say that it can't happen here. Do you want to speak to the crew? Or
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So usually once we have an outage, a line that goes out or a circuit, once they determine that it's okay for the guys to put the power back on, they have one person at the substation, and then they have the crews that will start patrolling the lines. So here in your area, you have 2 circuits. So they'll work from the substation and they just go out and they just will look the lines, and they each get a bucket truck and start going along to see. Depending upon the length of the lines, it can take anywhere from, I know when I worked in Yakima, I'm going to reverberate to where I was at. We had for Y1, it went all the way up the pass. And so it would take the guys about 4 hours to do. As they got more used to it and knew the area more, they were able to bring down that line, because Yakima has a lot of outages because they're a very dry area. But it just really depends upon, how busy the roads are. You guys have Highway 101 out here, which is got a lot of power lines on it, and it's a very busy road. So I don't know how long it's going to take if you ever do go into that, but that's what they'll do, is they'll just start at the substation, and then they just work their way out until they get to the end of the line, and then they'll call back and say, go ahead. And they'll do it in sections. So they'll get to the first reclosure, and they'll say, okay, you can do this, energize this section, energize that, as they go along. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit about, the majority of our crew is based in North County. And so how do we manage, that when we get into these settings, especially down south with, we all know what the highway can be trying to get down. And so we've talked a little bit about that, about what we're going to do, especially with Alicia coming on board, and some of our, some of the infrastructure that's being put on the lines is newer to our region. We have not been, that is, if you look at the territory and where some of this infrastructure hardening has been done, we're starting to see it now here. And so we're just kind of getting up to speed.
Yeah.
We also have access to air resources. Our vegetation management team has access to helicopters and drones and things like that. If there was a large enough event that we needed to kind of tap into those other partners and resources and contracts, we could do that. So.
Yeah, you mentioned that you have about 50% of the services above ground and 50% below ground. Do you have a track record to say that either configuration is safer than the other or more reliable?
Well, it's very dependent. It's very dependent on the community as well as the terrain. It may be less risk of a wildfire for underground lines. However, if there were an issue, it could be a much longer outage for you as opposed to our overhead lines. What do you have anything else on that? That's my understanding. Is it's really dependent on the community and the type of
Age of the
resources they
equipment
need.
and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also want to make sure the power remains affordable for you. And some of these things, it may not be, the balance isn't there, right? It would pass on the expenses to the consumer and it wouldn't be quite worth it for that area. So.
I would also just quickly add to that, we all know what sits under our ground here, very salinated water, the water tables are high.
Yeah.
And that is not always conducive to power. So it's balancing the wildfire risk with the reliability and the ability to say, okay, how do we manage some of that? So it's balancing.
First, I want to say thank you for providing those certificates for people that not only need it, but people that have that medical equipment that they need to use. I'm sure, when they call you, are you, because of privacy issues, you're not supposed to, you probably won't provide that information to the cities or to the, let's say, the emergency manager or the fire department. Are you encouraging those people to contact their cities and
Book return.
Are you encouraging those people to contact their local emergency people or the cities to let them know that they have the need for those things? It would be a nice partnership that, people to know, the cities to know that those people have that equipment when they need it.
Yeah, so when there is a larger outage, we are in constant communication with our public partners, and our customer service team has a list of those customers that are medical certificate customers. And we have at least two calls a day where we report out and we talk with customer service. We say, were you able to get a hold of this person who has medical certificate? And they say, no, we're going to call one more time. And if we don't, we'll let you know. And that's when I would get in touch with the sheriff's department to go do a wellness check. So we kind of handle the understanding of who is our access and functional needs customers and making sure that they are contacted and they are okay. If they're not, they have any needs, or if we can't get a hold of them, then I will work with our public safety partners to make sure that we get someone out there as soon as possible to make contact with them to make sure that they are okay.
Other than when there's been a wildfire or an extensive fire, do you know if you ever have occasions when both the power and the gas are off at the same time? Because you can get, they're not nearly as readily available, but you can get them through Costco, for example. A home generator, emergency generator that runs on natural gas, so you don't have to keep a big supply of gasoline or propane around your house. The gas company has to make certain, in some cases, that you have more capacity delivered to your house, but they basically charge you for that.
I'm not super familiar with those gas companies and how they operate.
Yeah, I've invited Kelsey here. Yeah, but that's a great question.
It works the same as if you have it running on gasoline. You just turn on the valve from your gas meter, and, full start or electric start, whatever you've got, start up. Just that's what we're running on that one.
Because most of natural gas is underground, I would anticipate that there isn't going to be this
That's what I
coordinated
think.
effort, but I can follow up with Kelsey and ask her what her thoughts are and let the team here know to get back to yours.
Yeah.
Oh, any other questions? That we can answer right now?
The only other thing I'll add is I just want to really thank the city of Cannon Beach and the community for supporting the vegetation management efforts that we've had here in the community. I know you've seen our aspen trees the last couple, the trucks of the last couple of years. They're our contractor doing a lot of vegetation management, and Heather Householder has been in the community working diligently to get to know you all and to help people understand why we're doing this. We love trees. We want to just protect them as much as we can. But if you do have any questions or concerns, she's always happy to meet with anybody. But if you also see vegetation that you think is at risk, please reach out to our office up in Warrenton. Alicia and I are both leads out of there. Heather and her crew are down here all the time, and they're happy to take a look at it. So please let us know if there's anything we can do to help.
I've done that and the response has been really good.
Oh, good.
Very good.
That's so great. Yeah. Thank you.
I almost forgot to mention, I brought a case of our preparedness kits. If anyone would like to take one, we recommend one in the house at least, and one in each car that you own. So that's just something to help you get started. Back on the table, we have a list of things that you should have in your preparedness kit. But this has a water bottle, a little car charger, first aid kit, and the real cool item is this emergency radio. It's going to give you those emergency alerts, but it also works as a flashlight, a clock, of course, and you can charge devices with it as well. So if you would like one, please, they're free. The more you take, the less I have to put back in my car at the end of the day. I only brought like a case and a half because I have a tiny car, but if anyone would like one, please take one. Yes.
Oh, I wondered.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. We've shoved them all in this little room over here, so come on up afterwards and we can hand them out to you. Did anyone else have any other questions before we move on?
Wildfire preparedness is a team effort. The Cannon Beach Fire Department and the other agencies, we have got some tremendous firefighters, and they do some really good job about fighting fires. But they can't be everywhere all the time. So this is what this was what this meeting was for, was to try to help you to be prepared as prepared as possible through taking actions around your house with ready, set, and go, defensible space, understanding what power management is, and this whole picture of preparedness. So when you put it all together, that's how we're going to be prepared there. So one thing I was thinking what these ladies were talking about is we're talking about power emergencies. Wildfire is one of our least concerns, but winter weather is.
Yeah.
So we take the information they're saying and be prepared for winter weather as much as you would for, and I try to think of, we're talking about wildfire, and wildfires is a big threat to Oregon. And not as much here, but don't be complacent.
Yeah.
Be thinking about winter weather, be thinking about tsunamis, be thinking about any kind of an emergency. So you would mention about dialysis or anything. If you would like to tell me, because again, it's a privacy or something like that too. We can put it in the fire department's response for your address. So if they go to your address, they can tap your house and says business dialysis. So that only stays within the fire department. So if you want to do that too, but with that in mind, and we're just kind of putting out finishing the details. But I got a great crowd, so I'll tell you about it. Probably in September, the Cannon Beach Fire Department is going to be rolling out a great new program called Community Connect. It's a thing through our records management system called First Do, where you can put anything you want to about your house. You'll get a link. It will go into our database there. So only the fire department will see, but it can tell us about yourself, if you have any pets, what your pets' names are, if anybody's on dialysis, if you have any other medical needs, if there's someone's non-ambulatory in there. We've been partnering with Seaside in this because they've been doing it for 2 years. And it's been a great asset. So it's one more thought, one more thing that both fire emergency management power. I didn't even think about gas. That's not usually gas and water. Are some of those things you don't think about. Because electric lines is a big concern, both above ground and below ground. Here Now, one thing I'm getting off on the subject, but it is a thing to think about is propane tanks. Now out here, propane tanks are, they can be affected in a wildfire, but you take areas, some parts of eastern Oregon, and we're going to pick on Arizona now. Propane tanks are a dangerous thing. So in Arizona, they will actually put them underground, which in most areas, so I lived in San Diego, that was no, we didn't do that because of earthquakes and because of acidic soil. So each area has its thing. So thanks to our area, we have our own dynamics that we're thinking about, and wildfire is one of them. And with the Rowena fires and some of the others, and the way the fire season is going, we wanted to get out into. So once again, I'd like to thank Claire from the library, Chief Reckman, for providing myself for tonight, and the city of Cannon Beach and Pacific Power there. So
Did you want to mention your Knox box?
I was going to, yeah, but it's a,
Thank you.
hey, I have some things, and a few of the communities that they're talked about. And I have this neat little device, and I'll show you. That I'm trying to be respectful of your time too, but that it's called a Knox box, a Knox home box, and I'll show you this there. But what the design is so that we can get in. The firefighters, they're great at breaking down doors. Those are expensive. So please don't let the front door stand between you and emergency services. And it could be a wildfire, could be a wildfire, could be an ice storm, could be anything. With this little device, it's a key that's locked onto your house. Somebody said, well, so now I don't put a key there, someone's going to steal it. Come out and look at this thing here. It is, I think it's a 3-inch case hardened steel. If they get it off your house, they get a box. They are not getting into this thing. And then remember, it's an opportunity. It's like that too. It's break-ins and stuff like that. I don't want to say they're going to happen, but that is not going to be the reason someone's going to break into your house.
It would be
But-
easier to break into the house.
It would be far easier to break. Yeah, it's like that too. This gets emergency providers in town there too. There's one person. We're going to call him Jim. That's not his real name, but we're going to call him Jim. We put this on his house. We've used it 4 times. And he's part of the senior outreach program and stuff like that. And I would, again, because I want to be very thankful to all this, the Cannon Beach Community Church donated a Knox box or this to him. So there is things in town for the Cannon Beach Community Church and the Cannon Beach Firefighters Association. There are ways that we can get these in people's hands. They're $200, so they're not tremendously expensive, but for someone on a fixed income or someone who's been here for a while, or just life has changed for them, that might be a big deal. It could be that thing there. So this isn't just a fire department issue, but fire department is 1 second, sir. But fire department is a huge partner, and now that through the efforts and some of the neat things that Chief Reckman has done. We have a new staff, we have additional staff, and we have a tremendous staff that is serving this community in ways that I haven't seen with any agency I've worked for. Sir, question?
I was just wondering how this is different from any of us that used to have the alarm system in our house. We had to have a lockbox in the front door where the fire department had access to get in that and get a key.
That's like a code on or something like that. So if you guys, the businesses that work with the business have a bigger one of this. Across the street at the Coaster Theater there, they have the commercial size of this. This is an amazing tool. But what's great about here too is, and I think you were the folks that live here a lot, so you're here all the time. But with some folks that are this is a second or third home from them. This is another way that police and fire can better protect their house. Or if we hear an alarm, or if we even see smoke or something in there, that we don't have to cause you a lot of damage. So again, I want to be respectful of your time.
John, I think, are you talking about the black box? Or is it small
Yeah,
black box?
small black
Okay,
box, you have
so
the key
some of
that-
us have those black boxes,
Uh-huh.
which we used to get from the police department.
Yeah.
And I think we need to talk, John, we need to talk about the police department eventually and find out where the keys are.
And
some of
that-
us.
And then before they put this up, some folks are just putting the commercial ones out there, and they're great, but those are expensive.
Yeah, well, some of us still have those boxes.
Still have
And
the
that,
old box.
and that was up before my time. That's all.
Yes.
Janine, thank you.
Okay.
So,
And they come and test them and we didn't pay
and
any.
they started out.
And they come and test them and we didn't pay anything.
The,
for
the
it.
police department does not offer that service anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it stopped, that service was stopped a few years ago.
So wildfires are a terrible thing there too, but wildfires are not the only emergency. That's just the emergency we're talking about tonight. It's that season, and they will be happening, and they can happen in Cannon Beach. So this is one of our overall preparedness thing that, again, it's not just fire, police, and emergency management. It's a coordinated effort, and our search team.
On the Knox box,
Yes.
another great thing, sometimes it's a time sensitive situation. You find that fire department can get in faster with the Knox
Oh,
box.
gosh, yes.
Yeah, so that's worth it right there.
So let's look at this. Well, I didn't bring my key, but I can bring in. And this is last, well, they put it, a fire engine has a key that gets into this. It opens up, it drops down, it hangs there like that. So it just hangs there. Take the key, they get in. It's a real quick thing. So I do want to be respectful of your time tonight. So if anybody has to go tonight, gosh, I thank you for coming because this has been a treat to serve you. I'll be here to explain these, see your outreach. Andy's got some questions. And the ladies from Pacific Power have some goodies for you. So thank you for coming.
Okay. There we go.